ET Now Special. I'm Naintara Rai. You're watching Realty Bites. The reason we've decided to do this program today is because for the second time ever, the centre has sought to take over the management and operations of a company under the Companies Act. It's looking to take over Unitech. Today, the government under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has informed the NCLT that Unitech's current management is no longer capable of carrying on the operations, and in the interest of thousands and thousands of home buyers, it would like to supersede the board with 10 of its nominees. On 20th of December, the NCLT is next going to hear this case and the 10 nominations that the government will present to the NCLT. So till 20th of December, we do know that the current Unitech board has been suspended. It is no longer allowed to carry on the operations. The government has also sought the removal of the CFO. Like I said, this is the second time ever to happen under the Companies Act. The first case was, of course, the Satyam saga, which is now almost a decade-old story. What does this mean for corporate India? What does this mean for thousands and thousands of home buyers? And is this a strong message that is being sent out by the government to other builders to start delivering flats to ensure that home buyers' interests must always come first? Joining me to discuss this now is Balbir Singh, a senior advocate at the Supreme Court. We're also being joined from our Gurgaon studio, Vikram Bishnoi, who is the president of the Unitech Residences Apartment Buyers Association, and also Govt Gaggar, who is a Supreme Court advocate. He often represents home buyers in different platforms across the Indian judicial system. Thank you all for joining us here on ET Now. Vikram, we brought you here on behalf of the Unitech home buyers and on behalf of home buyers across the country who have been struggling to get possession of their dream home. In many instances, people like you have had to pay rent as well as EMI. Projects have been delayed for years, and many of you have paid 95% of the dues. Today, with the government looking to take over Unitech, a company that you had confidence in and bought one of the projects, how do you and your association react to this? Do you think this will help you get possession of your dream home?
Naintara, first of all, we would like to welcome the decision taken by the government, but the buyers are at this point in time confused that when the Honorable Supreme Court was hearing this matter and they have already asked the developer to deposit 750 crore rupees by end of December, then this intervening step from the government, whether that will expedite the deliveries of the home buyers or it will delay the overall process, because the Honorable Supreme Court has taken a stringent step wherein they have put the owners of the company into the jail and they are not even hearing the bail plea until 750 odd crore rupees are deposited at the registry of the Honorable Supreme Court. So we the buyers, while we appreciate this step, but we at this point in time are confused till the time the government comes back and tell us as to how they would deliver the apartment and in what time frame they would deliver it.
Okay, so you're welcoming the move. Now let me go across to the two lawyers that we have on this show. I'll come to you first, Govt Gaggar. I don't know if you've ever had to represent the Unitech Home Buyer Associations or even the Unitech management for that in courts. But tell me, do you think that today's development of what the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has done and got the board suspended as such is going to go a long way and create a precedent for other builders? Is this a strong message that is going out to the builder community as well as to the home buyers fraternity?
So, Naintara, I have had the opportunity of representing certain consumers against Unitech. But the larger question over here, I think it's a very strong positive move. It is going to send shudders down the spine of a lot of developers who've been playing hooky for a long time. And it was required, even though I'm not very sure that it's going to be a simple process at all, or it is going to be, solving the entire situation over here, because as I understand, the liabilities far outweigh the assets that they have, because a lot of it seems allegedly to have been siphoned off into various accounts even overseas. Now, within the Insolvency Act as well, the resolution professional which gets appointed has to take into confidence the or create professionals, etc., who will come on board and advise them through this. They can track the money down. You need conventions with other countries on that, which I'm not sure have been notified yet, to trace out that money. So there's a lot of work which will have to go into this to actually make this the solution or the remedy for all the home buyers to actually get possession, because there is a serious deficit of fund. There will have to be out of the box thinking. I think it's a great initiative, but lots of distance to be covered within this currently.
Okay, Balbir Singh, what did you make of this development by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs? Is this the best way or the best option that was there before the government?
I think, Nayantara, this is to be seen at two different levels. One is that what it means today replacing the board and the nominees coming from the government side coming on board. The question is that this is not operative in the income generating company. So therefore, I don't think in terms of liquidating this company and then meeting the requirements of secured and unsecured creditors, including home buyers, that is a solution which is going to come out of it. So that's the point number one. Second is that the CLB or the NCLT in this case has used its power under section 241, which is more like operation and mismanagement, where the central government is competent in public interest to come forward and take over the board subject to NCLT agreeing with that, which in this case has done. So Supreme Court currently is looking into this matter purely from the home buyer's interest point of view, which is Supreme Court, since the constitutional authority is doing it. But if we look at up from the corporate governance point of view, what it means is that the government is going to step into this board, which means that the government can look into the affairs of the company, including what wrong the directors and shareholders have done it. If we see the provisions which are applicable to scenario where the board has been replaced, the government gets very extensive powers, like what Vaibhav said, that if the offshore assets are there which are siphoned out of the funds of this company or the profits of this company, this is a perfect remedy where the government can go after the shareholders' assets or the even including the directors' asset, which are leveraged out of the resources of this company. I think that's a window which the government gives by replacing the board. Third point, whether it is going to benefit the home buyers in any sense, to my mind, if we see the winding up process or liquidation process under the Companies Act or IBC, the home buyers as on today are not secured creditor, they stand in a queue. The only remedy what I see is currently the court is a big saving grace for them, in a sense that if the court asks them to deposit some money and that money is used for constructing the whatever the apartments or flats and then handing over those flats, or the money is being distributed in the cases where the buyers are not willing to take flats or apartments and they want money. That's completely a different action. So today's action is limited to the effect that the government stepping into it and extending the scope of inquiry.
That's a very good point that you have made, and I'm going to throw that question to Vikram Bishnoi, who is here, and we've got him on the channel on behalf of Unitech home buyers as well as home buyers of other builders. Vikram Bishnoi, you started by saying that you welcome today's decision, but after hearing the two advocates here on this show, why do you continue to welcome it? It's not as if the changing of the board is necessarily going to secure your rights. Would it not have been perhaps better to have auctioned all of these properties, got somebody else to finish the construction, like what's happening, for example, in the JP case, which has received 16 to 17 bids?
So Nayantara, as I said, that while we welcome this step, we are hesitant that like why the government is intervening at this point in time when the Honorable Supreme Court has already started pushing them to deposit 750 crore rupees to complete the project. And let me tell you, like they have to put huge money to deliver the apartments, but if 750 crore rupees are deposited and if they are used to deliver the apartments,
you're talking of 750. Vikram, one second. You're saying why should the government intervene when Supreme Court has fixed bail at 750 crores? Do you recall that earlier in the year, Sanjay Chandra and his lawyers told the courts that they didn't even have 2 crore rupees that they had wanted initially? Where is 750 crores?
Nayantara, the Unitech has like say they have assets, they have huge land banks and I'm sure when Supreme Court has directed them to deposit 750 crore rupees, this is basis the documents that Unitech has submitted in the court for the properties that they own across the country. So 750 crore rupees, if they deposit in the Supreme Court, then the apartments construction could be started, and those apartments could have been delivered in much earlier fashion rather than government taking over and then putting up an inquiry and then starting to arrange funds and then start delivering the apartments. So like when I say we welcome this step, this is because now at least the government has woken up and is starting responding to the home buyers issues. But at the same time, at this point in time, Honorable Supreme Court has already taken a tough stance wherein they have directed the company to deposit 750 crore rupees to even seek the to seek the bail. So our understanding was that Honorable Supreme Court would give justice to the home buyers in much faster fashion, and all of a sudden when the government has intervened, we are confused.
Okay, so home buyers are confused. Vaibhav Gagat, do you think this is the right move by the government? I highlighted, for example, the JP case. You've seen insolvency being triggered there as part of the RBI list. There are auctions that are taking place. 17, 18 bidders are believed to have submitted expressions of interest. Do you think perhaps that would have been a better route to go down, just keeping the home buyers' interest in mind? Or do you think that this case is just peculiar because the promoters and the directors have been languishing in jail since April, and this was, also part of the 2G case?
No, so I believe that actually the route to be taken would have been insolvency provisions over here. The insolvency professional or the institution which gets appointed could have done all of this and have the wherewithal to actually restructure the entire thing, put the restructuring plan before the creditors. It's not just the home buyers, there are a lot of financial institutions and private lenders who are going to be affected as well. It has to be more comprehensive. By just merely replacing the board, getting 10 people on board over here, and they're going to restart this entire process from scratch and understanding what it is. There is a resolution process in the insolvency books that needs to be triggered off. As far as the 750 crores deposit is concerned, it's a separate proceeding. I do not think that the Supreme Court is going to relax its position whatsoever in this. That is related to their bail. That money could still get deposited because it's supposed to come from their personal accounts as well. The trick in this, Nayantara, or the only solution is a restructuring plan, knowing that the liabilities currently heavily outweigh the assets. It will have to be a commercial legal call that will have to be taken. And I reiterate, they will have to follow the trail of the money, where has it gone, and then be able to in fact get those assets also included in order to probably liquidate them or get into joint venture models with people. There are bids which are possible, there are funds which are possible which could be looking at this at distressed values, and I don't believe that it is an impossible task whatsoever. But merely this move of the government invoking 241 and taking over the thing, I think it's going to be a slower process than what insolvency could have done, because insolvency would have been time bound. Everyone is looking into this affair. The institution is competent to look into it. They have the wherewithal to get and round up all the professionals which are going to be required for it. The board as it is in fact gets suspended and superseded. So I'm not very sure that this is the right route if the route adopted is the 241 route over here. Plus again, the Supreme Court route I don't think has anything to do with this. Supreme Court is still not going to give them bail till the amounts are deposited, and that money would be used for the benefit of the consumers. So auctions and sales have to happen if the restructuring plan does not take off, but that's got to be given a shot. 90-day period is provided in the Insolvency Act. It should have been given a shot.
Balbir Singh, that's Vaibhav Gagar's point of view that, if you had triggered insolvency, at least there would have been a time-bound process of 270 days to, take care of this entire problem. The insolvency resolution professional would have had 270 days. But of course, you're talking about people who have been suffering for years and years. My question to you, Balbir, is that, you follow the real estate market very closely. There have been two developments that have taken place this week. A, you've got the government now wanting to take over the operations of Unitech. And another case, you've had a group of ministers in Uttar Pradesh who have instructed the police to jail 6 builders. Again, a measure that will perhaps go down very well with the public at large, who consider builders to be part of a dirty lot. But following the due process of law, looking at all the options that are there, do you think the government perhaps is now getting more populist when it comes to stuck home buyers?
See, I think I completely agree on I think answering your last question first, I completely agree that it is a very populist move where the government is stepping into for the welfare of the home buyers. But at the same time, I must say that if we look at the public interest, which is one of the key concern in most of the laws and including company law, which is not different. And that's, just keep in mind, that's the basis on which the board has been replaced. Because if the government comes forward and say that all right, in the public interest, the board is to be replaced, and the NCLT agree, then they can replace the board. So therefore, public interest is certainly a paramount interest, and the public here may be a home buyers, or largely because it's a public money and financial institutions have funded these projects. Having said that, I think one thing we need to bear in mind that in IBC process, the resolution professional can see that how to liquidate the existing asset, and the inquiry cannot be extended to a point where the personal assets of the shareholders or directors can be looked into it. So the differentiating point today is once the board has been replaced and looking at the powers which are there under the Companies Act in case of these kind of investigations, which is largely called operation mismanagement, the provisions gives the authority that the investigation can be carried out if the money has been siphoned out of the existing company. So therefore, in what probably in IBC would not have been possible is possible under this route. That's the point number one, which I differ with Vaibhav. Second aspect is that which I see a hope for the home buyers is that if Supreme Court forced them to pay some money, then the responsibility to execute whatever the final plan either for construction or for refunding the money can be handed over to these nominee directors, and possibly they can do a better job than the existing board. So that's the one hope I see. In absence of this, if we see purely legal process, whether through the IBC or if the winding up or any other method adopted in the operation mismanagement process by the NCLT as well, then home buyers are sitting only as one of the creditors in queue who are not secured, and their claim cannot have a preference over the claims of secured creditors or the government debt. So if the assets of the company are not in position to meet the liabilities, I don't think in either way the home buyers will get any benefit out of it. Home buyers will get either benefit out of the process. Either the Supreme Court says that you deposit and that money is to be used for satisfying the needs of home buyers in terms of the flat or refunding the money. Alternatively, I think the state governments like UP, which has gone forward and putting pressure on the developers, that can be another window by which these project by project can be looked into it through the criminality route or the whatever the contractual, because these lands are leased by the government. So therefore, under the lease agreements, there are various clauses where the lessee can be held responsible for not meeting the obligations. So possibly I'm expecting that kind of a route can be used to meet the requirements of home buyers. That's broadly my understanding.
Okay, so there's free legal advice coming from Balbir Singh right here, senior advocate to all you home buyers that are stuck on options before you. Weber, I'll give you a chance to counter what Balbir said. He didn't agree with what you had said as far as IBC goes. He believes this is also going to be a process that will be within a timeline. Do you want to come in and counter him?
Yeah, so just a couple of points, under the IBC code, the funds of the director can be followed, especially if there have been fraudulent transactions or if the money has been siphoned off. Once insolvency professional takes over, I think it's section 257, if I'm not mistaken. So it can be done. Plus, there is a provision for international treaties and notifications. So you can follow the money into other countries as well, which is going to be critical. Thirdly, if it goes in for a winding up process, when it goes in for operation mismanagement, and if suppose the board takes over, they decide it's got to go in for a winding up process, it will have to come back into the IBC, because now the winding up provisions really come back to the IBC as one understands. And therefore, this process is going to have to get triggered however we look at it. So in my opinion, they have the power to follow the money. It would be a quicker resolution. And again, these people would be required to actually come up with a resolution plan, not in 270 days, Nayanthara, but in 90 days they have to come up with somewhat of a resolution plan. Then it's got to be accepted by the creditors, etc. It can be a holistic approach that can happen. And whether this route or that route, I mean, I believe IBC might have been a better route in it. But yes, they need to play on the front foot.
Fair
they
enough.
will have to seize the assets, freeze, they've already done, analyze the numbers, etc., and have to do it.
Balbir Singh, you know, you already said that you believe that this is a populist measure. So, you know, as in the run-up to 2019 elections, where, you know, the middle class is, of course, going to be a very important vote bank, and this is a fraternity which has been stuck thanks to a dead real estate market. Do you think that perhaps this is just the start of an activist government when it comes to reviving a property market? Do you think it's looking at other builders as well?
See, I think it's a little far-fetched to my mind if this action is sort of taking any cue from the election insight in 2019. I think it's pure issue where if we see that multiple proceedings are initiated against the home buyers and genuinely people with their hard-earned money are stuck with these different projects and the developers, and the government is doing their bit which is provided in law. It may be sounding populist in a sense that yes, they are going a step ahead and trying to see that if the money can be paid. But if at some stage a true interpretation of everything is to be given, as I said, that the home buyers will be standing last in queue to my mind because they are not secured creditors. They may not get it into anything. It is populist only to the extent where the government is seeing there is a public interest involved in it.
Allow me to come in here. Balbir, allow me to come in here. Allow me to come in here and to interject. And I'll tell you why. Balbir, 1 second. You know, I would also like to tell you that I have in the past interviewed SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar, who has said he has no problem if home buyers are brought at par with the financial institutions and get similar rights, not more, however. I have interviewed the Housing Minister Hardeep Puri, who has confirmed to ET Now that they are working on the IBC. They are looking at the exact language that is being done by the Finance Ministry on how to strengthen the rights of the home buyers.
I have no difficulty on that. If they make amendment in law and bring these home buyers on the same level with the secured creditors, I have no difficulty. Then that's a position of law. We are today looking when there is no law where the home buyers can be equated or their interest can be equated with the secured creditors' interest. So if we look at simple process provided in law by which you are liquidating a company, whether you do through the IBC or you do under the Companies Act, you have to go and go by a process. And that process, unless amended, will not yield anything for the home buyers. It is only that if the court look that all right, there is a public interest involved in it, they need to step up and therefore some money is being paid and the third party can be brought in to fulfill those projects or to meet the requirement of the home buyers. I have no difficulty on that part. If we look at from the pure legal standpoint, the home buyers cannot be given a precedence over the interest of the secured creditor. That position is very clear unless amended. I agree. I have been hearing and reading that the home buyers may be equated. Yeah.
I take your point. Yeah. Balbir, we are running out of time, and before I wrap up, Vikram Bishnoi, I'm going to give you precisely 15 seconds because we're running out of time. You're representing the Unitech home buyers. You don't sound, you said you're pleased, but through the conversation, it's pretty clear that you're not very happy about the government taking over operations. It's not going to be time bound. You have you don't have clarity on this front, but you're stuck. You can't possibly challenge this move, right?
Correct. So we are stuck, and what we expect is that the home buyers' plea shall be addressed in a time-bound manner. We should get our flats. This is the expectation that we have either from the government or from the Honorable Court, because both of them have to step up and deliver our flats. And as Mr. Balbir has said, this would be a serious issue in 2019 elections, whether people understand it or not, but the entire NCR will stand up against the government and against the courts if we will not get justice by that time.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, we are totally out of time. So I'm going to thank all of you for joining us here. This is, of course, the big story unfolding on ET Now. Government looking to take over Unitech. Stay tuned to ET Now. We'll be on top of every development. Many thanks for watching.